Today we are on to
Number 16.
that's 16. I hope he said it. Sounds a lot like 60.
It does sound like
Number 60. Like, wow, this kind of gotten out of control. Number 16, I'll enunciate, is Charles Cross. Why is Charles Cross intriguing? Because at some point, they're going to have to make a decision on whether or not he's their left tackle of the future. They spent, obviously, a very high draft pick on him. He's incredibly talented. And he's been good. Has he been better than Russell Okung was? Maybe. Hard to say because I think, the rest of the offensive line next to Okung was probably better than what we've had next to Charles Cross over the years. But has he stood out? Not necessarily. Not really in a bad way, nor a good way, which is why I think it's still very intriguing. We're trying to figure out whether or not this guy is an elite left tackle. Seahawks didn't extend Russell Okung. As good as he was, they decided he wasn't worth a long-term extension here, and it started them down that fairly long path of trying to figure out who the next left tackle here was going to be. Eventually, they found Brown in a trade, but that's how long it took for them to kind of solve that hole at the left tackle position. Well, Charles Cross came in and solidified it. He's an NFL player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He is an NFL left tackle. He is good enough to play the position in the NFL, and he's definitely at least in the middle, right? He's not a bad left tackle. Is he an elite one? Is he going to be one of the guys we're talking about in the next year as being, you can't get around him? He opens things up on the left side. He doesn't need to be what Trent Williams has been the best left tackle in the game now for like close to a decade. But I would think he's got to be in the top 10 by next year if you're going to sign this guy to a long-term extension. So he's intriguing for that reason. Also because of what's going to be next to him. There's still major question marks about the interior of this offensive line. If he's healthy on the left side and, cross your fingers, if Abe Lucas is healthy on the right, I think you feel pretty good about what that looks like. Everyone in between them, major questions. So can we even get a good read on what he's going to look like on the left side?
I was going to say, don't you think how that all shakes out is going to impact
100%
who he becomes too? Like he could be a very good left tackle, but if the rest of the line is a mess and Abe Lucas isn't healthy, I don't know if he can reach his full potential.
I think that's totally true. So it's going to be a very difficult evaluation on Charles Cross. But I do think that just being good enough shouldn't warrant a big-time long-term extension at left tackle just because it's hard to find left tackles. They spent major resources on him, right? He's a top 10 pick. He's going to make big money as a left tackle if you decide you want to re-sign him. So getting him to that point of being worthy of it, I think is a big deal. So Scott Huff, who comes from the University of Washington as an offensive line coach, to me, as much as we're going to end up talking about what he needs to do in the interior of that offensive line to maybe draw blood from a stone, the biggest thing he's got to do is help and then evaluate Charles Cross. He is the highest paid resource on this offensive line. And he's the second highest draft pick, I believe, on this team. Certainly one that was drafted by them. So, it's Witherspoon, then it's him, and then it's Byron Murphy, I believe. Maybe I'm missing somebody in there, but I think those three are going to be your three top draft picks. Well, let's figure out whether or not he's somebody that's going to be a big part of the future. And if he is, it goes a long, long way towards stabilizing an offensive line that has been anything but for the last 5 years, 10 years. Pretty darn close. So number 16 on this countdown is Charles Cross. Very intriguing because of the incredible skill set. He's done very well in pass protection. Can he start to be a people mover as well? If he can do all of that with consistency and health this year, yeah, he's probably a top 10 tackle that you're looking to sign long term, which would be great. There you go. That's today's 25 most intriguing Seahawks countdown.